Two women were playing a relaxed round of golf when one of them teed off, and gasped in horror as the ball flew straight toward a group of men on the next hole. Smack! It hit one of the men directly in the... well, you can guess. He dropped to the ground, hands tightly clasped between his legs, groaning in pain. The woman ran over, clearly shaken. "I'm so sorry," she cried. "I'm a physical therapist. I can help you, it's what I do." The man, curled up in a ball, muttered, No, I'll be okay. Just give me a second." But she insisted. Finally, he nodded. She gently moved his hands aside, helped him sit up, and began to apply a careful, professional massage through his clothing. After a few minutes, she asked, "Is that feeling any better?" He looked at her and said, "Honestly, that part feels amazing. But my thumb still really hurts." Little Johnny walks into school one day to find a substitute in place of his regular teacher. She says, "Hello, class, I'm Mrs. Prussy. When you say my name, class, remember it has an R after the first letter." The entire class says, "Hello, Mrs. Prussy." A few days later, the regular teacher is still sick. When little Johnny gets to his desk, the teacher asks what her name is. Johnny thinks hard and says to the teacher, "I remember it has an R after the first letter." "That's right," she coaxed. Then after a few seconds, little Johnny says, "Mrs. Crunt." A sweet grandmother called St. Joseph's Hospital and, in a soft, trembling voice, asked, "Is it possible to speak to someone who can tell me how a patient is doing?" The operator replied warmly, "Of course, dear. What's the name and room number of the patient?" The grandmother hesitated slightly before saying, "Norma Findlay, room 302. Let me check with the nurses' station for that room." "Please hold on for a moment," the operator said. After a few minutes, the operator returned to the line. "Good news. The nurse told me that Norma is doing well. Her blood pressure is great, her blood work is normal, and Dr. Cohen has scheduled her to be discharged tomorrow." The grandmother sighed in relief. "Thank you so much. That's wonderful. I've been so worried. God bless you for giving me such good news." With a smile, the operator asked, "Is Norma your daughter?" The grandmother replied, "No, I'm Norma Findlay in room 302. No one tells me anything around here." Little Johnny walks in while his mom grabs a towel and spots something confusing. His innocent question leads to a hilarious misunderstanding no one saw coming. Little Johnny was in the bathroom brushing his teeth when his mom walked in to grab a towel. He stared and asked, "Mom, what's that fuzzy triangle?" She replied, "That's my sponge." Later, Johnny was talking to his babysitter and said, "My mom has a sponge between her legs." She laughed and said, "Oh, really?" Johnny nodded, "Yeah, I saw it cleaning Daddy's face last night." A guy goes over to his friend's house, rings the bell, and the wife answers. "Hey, is Tony home?" "No, he just went to the store." "Well, do you mind if I wait?" "No, come on in." They sit down, and the friend says, "You know, Nora, you've got the most beautiful melons I've ever seen. I'd give you $100 just to see one." Nora thinks for a moment, then figures, why not? She opens her robe and shows him one. The friend thanks her and tosses $100 on the table. After a bit of silence, he says, "Those are so amazing, I'll give you another 100 if I could see both of them together." Nora thinks for a second, then decides, what the heck? She opens her robe again and shows him both. He thanks her, leaves another 100 on the table, and says he has to go. Later, Tony comes home, and Nora says, "You know, your friend Chris came by today." Tony pauses for a second and asks, "Oh, did he drop off the $200 he owes me?" A farmer was driving down the road with a truck full of fertilizer. A little boy playing in his yard spotted him and called out, "What's in your truck?" "Fertilizer," the farmer replied. The boy looked curious and asked, "What are you going to do with it?" "Put it on strawberries," said the farmer. The little boy thought for a moment and then said with a grin, "Well, if you lived here, you'd know we put sugar and cream on ours." A man stepped out to the street and flagged down a passing taxi. As he got in, the cabbie smiled and said, "Perfect timing. You're just like Brian." "Brian? Who's Brian?" the passenger asked. "Brian Sullivan," the cabbie replied. "He was the guy who did everything right. Just like how I showed up when you needed a cab, that kind of thing happened to Brian all the time." The passenger chuckled. "No one's that lucky. Everyone's got their share of bad days." "Not Brian," the cabbie insisted. "He was the perfect guy. A top athlete, he could have won the Grand Slam in tennis. He could have played golf with the pros. He sang like an opera star and danced like he belonged on Broadway. You should have heard him play the piano." "Sounds like quite the man," the passenger mused. The cabbie nodded eagerly. "Oh, he was. And smart, too. He had a memory like a computer. Never forgot a birthday, knew all about gourmet food, and even knew which fork to use. He could fix anything. Me, I blow a fuse, and the whole block loses power. But Brian, he had the golden touch." "Wow, he must have been something," the passenger said, shaking his head. "There's more," the cabbie continued. "He knew every shortcut, could avoid any traffic jam. Not like me, I'm always stuck. And when it came to women, Brian knew exactly how to make them feel special. He'd never argue, even when they were wrong. His clothes were always spotless, shoes shined like mirrors. He was flawless. No one could ever compare to Brian Sullivan." The passenger, thoroughly impressed, asked, "So, how did you meet this incredible guy?" The cabbie glanced in the rearview mirror and grinned. "Oh, I never met Brian. He died. But I married his widow." Ma was peeling potatoes when she hollered, "Earl, that outhouse needs fixin' again." Earl, rocking in his chair with a whittling knife, grunted, "Ain't nothin' wrong with that outhouse. I used it just fine this morning." Ma snapped back, "Well, someone didn't. Go check it." So with a heavy sigh, Earl grabbed his lantern and headed out. Few minutes later, he shouted from the yard, "Ain't seeing nothing wrong, Ma." Ma shouted, "You gotta look real close." Earl hesitated. "How close we talkin', woman? Put your head in and shine that light." Grumbling, Earl leaned in, muttering about how he fought in wars and now he's inspecting outhouses. Suddenly he screamed, "Ma, help! My mustache is stuck in the seat crack." Ma burst out laughing, so hard she dropped the potato. "Well, Earl," she said between chuckles, "maybe next time you'll just fix it the first time I ask." A couple who had been married for over 60 years had shared everything, except for one secret. The little old woman had a shoebox in the top of her closet and had always warned her husband never to open it or ask about it. One day, as the woman fell gravely ill, the doctor told them she wouldn't recover. In preparing their affairs, the old man took down the box and brought it to her bedside. She agreed it was time for him to know what was inside. When he opened it, he found 2 crocheted dolls and a stack of money totaling $95,000. Surprised, he asked her about the contents. "When we were to be married," she said, "my grandmother told me that the secret to a happy marriage was never to argue. She advised me that if I ever got angry with you, I should just keep quiet and crochet a doll." The old man was deeply touched. 2 dolls in all those years meant she had only been angry with him twice. He was overwhelmed with joy. "But, darling," he asked, "what about all this money? Where did it come from?" She smiled and replied, "Oh, that's from selling the dolls." It's the spring of 1957, and Bobby arrives at Carrie's house to pick her up for their date. When he knocks on the door, Carrie's father answers and invites him inside. "Carrie's still getting ready," her father says. "Why don't you have a seat?" "Sure, no problem," Bobby replies, sitting down politely. As they wait, Carrie's father asks Bobby about their plans for the evening. Bobby explains they'll probably head to the soda shop and catch a movie. "That sounds nice," Carrie's father says, then casually adds, "Why don't you two go out and twist? I hear all the kids are doing it these days." Bobby is taken aback and asks, "I'm sorry, sir, what did you say?" "Yeah," Carrie's father continues, Carrie loves to twist. She'll twist all night if we let her. Bobby's eyes widen, and he can hardly believe his luck. A night out twisting sounded like it was shaping up to be even more fun than he expected. A few minutes later, Carrie finally comes downstairs, looking cute in her poodle skirt, ready for the evening. Excited, Bobby quickly escorts her to the car, eager to get the night started. About 20 minutes later, Carrie storms back into the house, slams the door, and yells at her father. "Daddy, it's called dancing, not twisting." A married couple in their early 60s were celebrating their 40th wedding anniversary in a cozy, romantic restaurant. Out of the blue, a tiny yet enchanting fairy appeared on their table. She said, "For being such an exemplary married couple and for your enduring love, I will grant each of you one wish." The wife immediately responded, "Oh, I would love to travel around the world with my darling husband." With a wave of her magic wand, the fairy made 2 tickets for the Queen Mary II appear in her hands. The husband thought for a moment and said, "While this is incredibly romantic, such an opportunity is rare. I'm sorry, my love, but I wish to have a wife 30 years younger than me." The wife and the fairy were both dismayed, but a wish is a wish. The fairy waved her wand again and, poof, the husband became 92 years old. The moral of the story: men who are ungrateful should remember that fairies are female. Paddy walks into a bar in Dublin, orders 3 pints of Guinness and sits in the back of the room, drinking a sip out of each one in turn. When he finished all 3, he comes back to the bar and orders 3 more. The bartender says to him, "You know, a pint goes flat after I draw it. It would taste better if you bought one at a time." Paddy replies, "Well, you see, I have 2 brothers. One is in America, the other in Australia, and I'm here in Dublin. When we all left home, we promised that we'd drink this way to remember the days we all drank together." The bartender admits that this is a nice custom, and leaves it there. Paddy becomes a regular in the bar and always drinks the same way. He orders 3 pints and drinks the 3 pints by taking drinks from each of them in turn. One day, he comes in and orders 2 pints. All the other regulars in the bar notice and fall silent. When he comes back to the bar for the second round, the bartender says, "I don't want to intrude on your grief, but I wanted to offer my condolences on your great loss." Paddy looks confused for a moment, then a light dawns in his eye and he laughs. "Oh no," he says, "everyone is fine. It's me. I've quit drinking." A mother was worried about her little boy walking to kindergarten on his own. Her son insisted he was big enough and didn't need her walking with him. Wanting to respect his desire for independence, but still wanting to ensure his safety, she came up with a plan. She approached a neighbor and asked if she could discreetly follow him to school each morning, keeping her distance so he wouldn't notice. Since the neighbor was up early with her toddler anyway, she happily agreed. It'd be a nice way for her and her daughter to get some morning exercise. For the next few days, the neighbor and her little girl quietly trailed behind Timmy as he walked to school with a friend. The 2 kids strolled along, chatting, kicking stones, and laughing, while the neighbor kept a watchful eye from afar. By the end of the week, Timmy's friend finally noticed the woman and her toddler following them every day. She turned to Timmy and asked, "Hey, have you noticed that lady following us to school all week? Do you know who she is?" Without missing a beat, Timmy replied, "Oh yeah, I know who she is." "Well, who is she?" the girl asked, curiosity growing. "That's just Shirley Goodnest and her daughter Marcy," Timmy said casually. His friend looked puzzled. "Shirley Goodnest? Who are they, and why are they following us?" Timmy shrugged and explained, "Every night, my mom makes me say the 23rd Psalm because she worries about me. And in it, it says, 'Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life.' So I guess I'll just have to get used to it. May Shirley Goodnest and Marcy follow you all the days of your life." I bet that made you smile. A guy calls up a company and signs up for their 5-day, £5 weight loss program. The very next day, there's a knock on his door. Standing before him is a fit, athletic 19-year-old girl, wearing nothing but a pair of Nike running shoes and a sign around her neck that reads, "If you can catch me, you can have me." Without thinking twice, he sprints after her, but after a few miles of huffing and puffing, he gives up. She returns the next 4 days, and the same chase ensues. On the 5th day, he steps on the scale and, sure enough, he's dropped 5 pounds, just as promised. Feeling encouraged, he calls the company back and orders the 5-day, 10 pounds program. The next day, he opens the door to find an even more stunning woman, wearing only Reebok running shoes and the same tempting sign, "If you catch me, you can have me." He takes off after her, but she's in incredible shape. Though he can't quite catch her, he's improving each day. By the end of the 5th day, he weighs himself and is thrilled to discover he's lost another 10 pounds. On a roll, he decides to go all in and signs up for the 7-day, 25 pounds weight loss program. The representative warns him, "This is our most intense program, are you sure?" "Absolutely," he replies. "I'm feeling amazing." The next day, there's a knock at the door, and he opens it to find a massive, muscular guy in nothing but pink running shoes and a sign around his neck that reads, "If I catch you, you're mine." He lost 33 pounds that week.